This video is brought to you by Raindrop.
Not every customer is a good customer. You need to figure out what is your ideal customer profile and go after that customer. I'll literally spin my laptop around. I'll be like, hey, this is my estimating software.
What's biggest lie that contractors tell homeowners?
In Georgia, we've got entire companies that have built their entire business model on insurance roofing, and we're not a storm market.
So why did you sign 3-year contract in the first place?
Man, you know, I just started the business. I was like, woo, I own a business. Now I need to get a bunch of customers. Don't get complacent. Don't say, oh, we're good enough, right? Analyze your people. Do they fit my core values? If it's questionable, you might want to start looking for a contingency plan.
All right, guys, today we have special guest in the studio all the way from Atlanta. Brad, thank you so much for flying in. How was your flight?
It was great, actually. Yeah. Only had one layover. Wasn't bad.
Awesome. Thank you for making it. We actually was chatting right before the podcast, and I want to start there. So I lived in Atlanta area for 6 years, from 2007 to 2013, and I remember how bad was problem with stealing on the job sites. I have one of my jobs, I was sharing a story where we were flipping this home for Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae, and they broke in from the back door and stole all my paint. My pressure was like $3,500 theft. I'm like, who needs the paint? Is the problem still real there?
Oh man, so it's literally, it's part of our sales presentation, like the slide deck that we show homeowners. We show screenshots of Facebook Marketplace, and people will steal shingles off of job sites and then sell them in the black market. There's a black market for construction material in Atlanta, and we warn homeowners about that.
We cover a lot of news, and a lot of contractors, and I guess thieves, not contractors, because those are not contractors who steal.
Right.
Those are just professional thieves.
Right.
How much are they discounting when you saw those ads? So if going rate $100 per square, how much you can get shingles off?
50.
50?
Yeah.
Half the price?
Yeah.
Is it true? Or have you seen it? Not accusing anyone of anything, but have you seen smaller suppliers reselling those?
100%.
Really?
100%.
Because I see it. I see people talking, and actually have been at few, and all bundles look like they've been around. I'm like, where is this coming from? And other roofers told me that's stolen goods.
Right.
I'm like, but this supplier puts their in. So suppliers buys back, or
yeah. And I think it's organized retail crime groups, like the same ones that will hit Lowe's and Home Depot. I remember when I was with Lowe's for a long time, and we would have people that would literally come in the big flat carts. They would just fill them full of construction material and walk out the store, because they knew that we had a policy that we could not apprehend or go after shoplifters, and they knew this.
Why not?
It's just a policy for liability reasons.
Can you call the police?
You can absolutely do that, yeah. And then there's asset protection and loss prevention.
So what do you do? Because I remember, I used to shop a lot at Home Depot, and back in the day in Atlanta, downtown area, there's a few Home Depots. Every morning I was starting there. And back in the day, 2008, 2009, even tools, nothing was protected like today. And then 5 years later, you walk in any Home Depot, there's cameras now.
Yeah.
There's some kind of magnets. I mean, you need to call associate to get it from there. I mean, it's very sad because it's hardworking people.
Right.
People I never could understand it. And now it started making sense. But why such a policy? Why is it protection of the employees?
It is, yeah. And because there's been, cases to where they would try to apprehend or go after and get hurt. They can get hurt because it's a criminal.
Yeah.
They're inclined to probably fight back, right?
Why not hire security, like professional security? Wouldn't it be cheaper?
There are some high risk locations, right? Class 1 through 5, right? So class 5 locations where they will have hired security, or off-duty police for that local county or area that they're in too.
It's so sad.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, comment below if in your area it's a real problem, if you do see it. What's the rule though? Like, is that the dollar amount that you will prosecute? Because I've heard that like you have to wait until it's like $1,000 plus. Is this true as well?
There's truth to that. And so the strategy behind targeting the organized retail crime rings is you build a case on them. And so over time, they think they're getting away with it, but asset prevention or loss prevention and asset protection, they are building a case, right? And they're compiling this evidence, and they're partnering with the local authorities on it, and then they're starting to watch them at other big box retailers, and then they put together a significant amount to then go after and prosecute them.
So the charges can be more severe?
Yeah.
So sad. Like I remember when I was running my roofing company, we have like 3 trailers stolen. Each trailer is like $7,000-8,000. Gutter trailer was stolen, and it's sad, but I never let it affect my brain, because the sooner I go in the marketplace to make more money or replace it,
Right.
the better I am.
Right.
If I sit here but the saddest part is when you call police and they do the report. Sometimes they literally will tell you that
There's
you
nothing they can do about it.
There's
Yeah.
nothing you
Yeah.
can. Like, why in this country, in this awesome country, when we have like surveillance cameras, like, because if you look at China, if you look at some other countries,
Mm-hmm.
there's no theft, because everyone like observes everyone. You have cameras, and they
Right.
actually prosecute you. Like, they actually will go after even small theft.
Right.
Why in the United States you can get away with like theft from the job site, like $7,000-10,000, and nobody's paying attention for it? Is it because we're printing money and we just have abundance?
I don't know. It's a good question. I think some of it might be laziness, right? Because
Is it a system flaw?
I think maybe so. Yeah, I think so.
Because on the other hand, I do see like I'm addicted to like police videos like on the internet. Like I had a time where I watched a whole bunch of them, and I've seen shoplifters getting arrested like at Kohl's, Target, right? Like, I guess they have different policies.
Yes.
So if they catch you like stealing from like Walmart, they'll call the police and they'll escort you. And on our side of the industry, theft amounts are larger. Stealing from the contractor is always bigger amount. Like, equipment costs more than t-shirt.
Yeah.
Why they're prosecuting in some industries and not in others? Or is it just what it looks like, you think?
Yeah. I mean, I think at the end of the day, somebody's profiting off of it, right?
Wow.
I mean.
So sad.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about your years at Lowe. So what's your background? How long you've been with Lowe's? What you've done there?
Yeah. So I started with Lowe's in my early 20s. I started as a delivery driver, delivering appliances, and then I got my CDL and drove the flatbed. And
you're one of those people who drop everything on the front of the road and said, we're not gonna get it.
No, I was good. I had a little piece.
Lowe's actually very decent. I buy all my appliances from Lowe's for the past 10 years, and Lowe's have one of the best. Like, I always trade in my old unit because I don't want to deal with the recycling.
Yeah.
That always a nightmare. Like,
Yeah.
what are you gonna do with an old dishwasher or a fridge?
Yeah. No, I was good. I had a piece of paper. I'd say, here, sign this in case I crack your driveway with my forklift. You're not going to come after Lowe's. And then I'd get that into people's garages. I'd put a bunk of lumber into the garage. Yeah, so.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So you started a delivery, and because you have pretty high position at the end. What was the highest?
Yeah, so I was the district manager of in-home services for Atlanta.
Wow.
So I essentially was represented them as the general contractor. So, Lowe's, Home Depot, they install pretty much every category that we sell. So I was in charge of interior categories and exterior categories. But started as a delivery driver, and then I remember one day, the very first mentor I ever had, Greg Gilmore. He was the general manager at the Lowe's in Destin, Florida. I got back from my route and just kind of hanging out, and he's like, "Hey man, what are you doing?" And I'm like, "I'm working, sir. What are you doing?" And he's like, no, what are you doing driving a delivery truck? You've got leadership, ability. People look up to you. The guys look blah blah blah, this and that. And I want you to come come be a department manager. And I said, I've never.
So he recognized the driver and promoted you.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so did that, department manager, and then assistant store manager, zone manager, store manager, general manager, district manager in home services. Yeah.
In how many years total?
11.
11 years. Wow.
Yeah, 11. Yeah. Met my wife there. Had a Lowe's wedding. I mean, literally everybody from our store was there. Never thought I would have. I still bleed blue. You know, great organization, did a lot for me and my family, and gave me the skills I learned running a big box retail store. You can't learn in an MBA program. You can't. You know, it's like doing that.
It's one-on-one.
Such a great experience.
I think Lowe's is better for, like, I'm a homeowner now, and I, like, as a contractor, I always loved Home Depot better.
Mm-hmm.
But as a homeowner, I just go to Lowe's more. Like, every time I need to shop for my house with my wife, like, like appliances, they always have a good deals, like historically. Like, because I've shopped like over the years, like, you know, you need a fridge, you need a stove. I'll go to both, and Lowe's usually have either incentive or just better deal or better brand.
Yeah.
And that was interesting. And guys, comment below if you're more on the Lowe's side or Home Depot. And now I know Home Depot in roofing making huge moves, trying to get the roofing business, buying SRS. And for years they tried it.
Yeah.
But Lowe's is competitive too. Here's the conspiracy theory I want to hear your opinion on. I've heard it when I actually lived in Atlanta that Lowe's and Home Depot are kind of like almost like a sister company. There's a relations between them, like just like they say Coke and Pepsi have like the same investors, and it's just like the show that you see, like that they compete with each other. Is there any correlation between Lowe's and Home Depot?
So I don't know, you know, for sure, but there's definitely a symbiotic relationship, right? Because to your point, Depot is better for the contractor. It's better for building materials. And then Lowe's is better for fashion products like bath and kitchen and appliances, things like that. So they have their niches, and quite frankly, they collaborate well together. They're competitors, but I think they help each other. And I think the same is to be said about, you know, CVS and Walgreens, you know, Pepsi and Coke, you know. Everybody needs, it's healthy competition. Everybody needs that, you know.
Uber and Lyft.
Yeah.
Because if you're the only one, you can corrupt pretty quickly.
Oh yeah.
If you don't have a competition, like in social media, and
it's peer level accountability, right? Yeah.
I wish we would have competitor of Google. Because look what happens. When you own 90% of the market, you're like, hey, everybody pays me more.
Yeah.
But what happened with the ChatGPT? So ChatGPT came in, and everybody's like, okay, good. Everybody's using it.
Right.
And now ChatGPT, they have competition, and they're losing money.
Right.
So what they have to do? They have to
get better.
Get better.
Exactly. Yeah, it's good. It's good. It's capitalism. It's fantastic.
So you still like, do you use Home Depot at all?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I shop more at Home Depot now, just because, you know, I own a construction company, I own a roofing company, so they are better at that. You know, and you mentioned SRS acquiring Depot, so they have the pro referral program where they give leads to GAF Master Elite contractors, and so there's a relationship there now with SRS and Depot that it's sticky, right? Because for every dollar you spend, you get a point that goes to
marketing program or something.
Yeah.
Why companies like ABC Supply still gets majority of the roofing business? Why? How do you explain that giants like Home Depot still cannot be a go-to place for roofers? Because for years, like, I was a contractor, and I bought a lot from Home Depot. I also bought from ABC Supply, and we have here Menards, right? We buy Menards is very good.
Really good.
Very good. But historically, industry consolidated, you know, towards now QXO, ABC, so top three, right?
Yep.
But you still have these giants, Lowe's. What's stopping Lowe's or Home Depot to really compete with all the players in the market?
Logistics. The logistics it's clunky at best, right? Think about a roofer. They sign a job. Hey, I need next day delivery. It's hard for Lowe's and Home
So
Depot to
ABC
execute
just
that.
better logistic company.
Better logistics and then better account management. Lowe's and Home Depot both have pro desks, right? And you can have people that are focused on that, but you're never really going to have like one stop, like your account manager that's available all the time, and
More corporate.
yeah.
Interesting. What do you think is going to happen with the SRS and Home Depot? Why did they buy it?
I think it's great because I think that Depot's, because look, they're smart, right? They're self-aware of their issues, so they saw that, hey, supply chain, logistics, devoted customer service. This is an issue in the contractor space. Even though we're great at the product, the fulfillment was an opportunity. And so now with their partnership with SRS, that arm does those things very well, right? And it's a win. It's a win for contractors. It's a win for that organization at large.
Back in the day, most manufacturers used to sell directly to contractors. What's stopping GF OC open that store and just come buy from me? Like, I have a plant here. Here's the store. Why do they need middlemen?
I mean, it's
Would you, as a contractor, would you go if OC would open store tomorrow?
Yeah.
Like, imagine you have a factory
Yeah.
and you have OC store. You
Right.
go in and buy everything OC direct from manufacturer.
right.
Would you buy from there?
Sure. Yeah.
Why not do that for them, for their business model?
It's another layer of business, right? Because hey, you can have contractors that will tell you, hey, I'm going to do this amount of squares this year. I'm going to do right, but it's like, are you? I don't know. And then it's like, no, I'm just going to sell to distributors, right? It's less amount of customers, right? So it's easier to manage. It's just easier for them. It makes their life easier from a business model perspective.
I see. Yeah, it's always been fascinating to watch those, like, especially if you study history and you study other markets. It's a little bit different, like in England and Europe. You can literally go in and buy. And even today in the United States, I see other manufacturers coming in, and they're not going through ABC. I see some metal products, ship it directly to you.
Yep.
They offer better price. Next day delivery, they buy their own warehouse. I think business model is changing.
Yeah.
For one reason is price increases. Everything is so expensive because now you have too many middlemen and
Yeah.
everybody takes
They've
their
got to
cut.
get a piece. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's
yeah.
How do you cut cost? You go direct.
You're right. Right. I just don't know the scalability of that for that company, right? Because again, now you have a lot more customers. Now you have to deliver to a lot more places. Now the overhead and the personnel starts to increase. More opportunities for friction and pain points for the end customer, right? So it's a little more complex.
All right. You definitely have leadership skills. Let's talk about your experience, and I want to hear the story when and how you decided to start a roofing company.
Yeah, so I'm a pastor. Also, I'm not currently serving a church, but once you're a pastor, you're always a pastor. And so I believe that I don't believe in coincidences. I believe in synchronicities. And I think a lot of times they can be divine. And so during COVID, I was still with Lowe's. During COVID, I noticed that two of my product groups, we weren't just positive, we were double-digit comping. And it was roofing and it was HVAC. And about that time, a recruiter reached out to me and said, hey, there's this commercial roofing company in Atlanta. They're adding director-level leadership. Would you want to have a conversation? And I was like, absolutely, right? And so I did, and several conversations later, I left Lowe's, which I never thought I would, and went to work for a commercial roofing company in Norcross, which is a suburb of Atlanta, and I fell in love with roofing. I remember the guy who hired me. He said, we got you now. Once you get in roofing, you're not going to leave, and it was true, And then once I decided, so at Lowe's, you've got the playbook, right? It's like, here's the play, run the play. If you're a good operator, you can do it. Now, in my new role, I started a different division of that company. And so I had to develop the play, right? So I came up with the play, and then I was able to execute the play. So then in my mind, I said, I can do this. I'm gonna do this. And I wish I would have done it sooner, because being an entrepreneur is very rewarding. I don't think I could ever go work for somebody else again.
What would you say, what did Lowe teach you that roofing still hasn't figured out?
The importance, and roofing getting better with it, but the importance of systems, processes, standard operating procedures, being fair and consistent, not deviating too far from the guidelines, and being organized. I think as contractors, it's easy to have to shoot from the hip, right? And you have to do that sometimes, right? But it shouldn't be how you operate your business, right? You should literally have a playbook that you can hand to someone and say, this is how to do it. Like we have, the capital city way. This is the capital city way. So I could hand that book to you, and you could go start a capital city roofing location. And that's all based on EOS for us. We run on the entrepreneur operating system, which is fantastic. And it keeps us organized.
Love it. Can you describe your first 6 months in roofing? Anything that humbled you fast?
Oh, man. So I remember, I'm scared of heights, right? Like naturally, I'm scared of heights. And I remember it was my first inspection that I got. It was a 2-story townhome with a basement, so essentially 3 stories. And my ladder was maxed out, right? And I remember getting to the top of the ladder. My knees are shaking, and I remember thinking to myself, like, holy smokes. Like, if I fall, I might die. But if I don't do this, my business is going to die. So I got over that fear. But the awakening for me was I used to have people for things. I could delegate, and then I became the person, right? But it was great because I learned how to do every single aspect of that job. I even installed a roof because I wanted to know it exactly. So I installed roofs with the crews. I did the thing, and I gained knowledge that otherwise I would not have been able to do,
Well, what can you describe the moment when you're like, hey, this is actually gonna work? Like, when did you see that everything is now like in place and you made the right decision?
It was about 6 months in.
6 months.
Yeah, it took about 6 months. And I really, because I had never been a sales guy. Like I had never actually sold for real. I always managed sales processes, but I had never been the sales guy. And once I learned that I could sell, it just snowballed from there. Confidence grew, and then the success grew. Started being able to take off a hat, bring somebody on, train them, and start expanding the team. And we've been wildly successful, and it'll be 2 years in May. So,
any big mistakes that cost you a lot of money early on?
Figuring out what marketing to do. Yeah.
The biggest.
Yeah, for sure.
What would you say was true reason starting a roofing company? Did you start it for the money, for the ego, for the purpose, for just activity of it? What was the reason why starting the company?
So roofing, it started because I noticed that it was non-discretionary, it was recession-proof essentially, right? So it's solid, it's stable. It'll always be there. There's only 2 types of roofs. There's a roof that's leaking, and there's a roof that's going to leak. And so there's job security there. And then for me, everything I do it's missional. It's called home services, and I believe that the service part of that isn't the product. I believe it's the relationship, right? The service part for me is the relationship with the customer, the relationship with my staff, the relationship with my crews. That's the service piece of it for me. And for me, it's legacy. I don't have any children. I don't I don't know if I can. I have been tucking my head in the sand on that one. The wife and I had a miscarriage a few years back, but haven't got checked out. Anyway, that's a different thing. But so for me, it's legacy. You know, I want people to know and remember Brad Strawbridge, not because Brad Strawbridge made a bunch of money. That's irrelevant. I want to be able to make money so that way I can impact people's lives positively.
If you started with no money today in roofing, what would you do in the first 30 days?
I would become 5 Mile famous. So I would go knock the doors in a 5 mile radius. I would meet everybody that I could. Not necessarily solicit them at first, but just introduce myself. Hey, this is who I am. This is what I stand for. These are my core values. This is what I do. If I can help you, please let me know, right? And start building a reputation. I think reputation is the most important thing. And then I would go to market with some type of a marketing strategy after I got a few jobs and got a little bit of discretionary funds that I could point at some targeted marketing efforts.
What would you say your company does better than other roofers? Like 90% better than other roofers?
Customer service, being innovators, and having a purpose. So for us, our why is our nonprofit. So Feeding the Future Project. And so when we onboard staff, part of the interview process is, hey, this is the company core values, this is our mission, this is where we're going, this is what we want to do. We want to feed 1 million children in 10 years. In 10 years, we want to have fed a million, that's the bare minimum, 1 million children. How do you feel about that? And it makes people feel good. They want to be a part of that because it's bigger than themselves, and it has nothing to do with revenue. Like our 10-year vision, yeah, we have a revenue goal on there, but the resounding aha why is feeding those 1 million children.
Are you feeding children in the United States or other country, or?
Right now it's Georgia.
Georgia.
But as we scale with the Capital City Roofing licensing platform, as we scale, one of the criteria is that licensed operator, and it doesn't have to be Feeding the Future. It can be something else because the nonprofit will be started state by state, right? So it'll be each state will
so
have
it's your
different.
own nonprofit?
Yeah.
Smart.
Yeah.
Do you see, like, we actually recently just had a massive story here in Minneapolis. Actually, my accountant was even involved in it. It was one of his accounts. So we have nonprofit organization Feeding Minnesota Children.
Oh my gosh.
And they stole like millions.
I heard about that.
And my accountant, I was talking to him. They came to him to like adjust the books, and he was looking at like they had a retainer, like that company owed my account like $60,000 or something, and they're like, we don't want to be part of it. We don't want to work on the books. Like, don't even pay us, because if they would pay to like for CPA services, complicit, and I feel like if you study nonprofits and what's they claiming, I think it's like 85% does not go to destination.
Yeah.
So they'll get like $1 million, but it's actually 150 will actually go to the recipient.
Right.
Why did you start, and what's behind your nonprofit? And tell me more.
So we knew that we wanted to make an impact in the community, right? And then so we had a decision to make. Do we just form some official partnerships with some other organizations, right? Or do we start our own? And in the spirit of this new entrepreneurial life that we have, my wife and I, who's my business partner, we said, well, we're going to start our own. And so I took inspiration from a good friend of mine and mentor, Todd Price, who was the founder of Perimeter Roofing, who is, sold to Sawmill Capital, Rafter X platform. He had Perimeter Cares. And matter of fact, Perimeter Cares is still operating. And so I love that idea, because the fact of the matter is you might not think about this, about childhood hunger in the United States being prevalent, but it is, because children who are on the free lunch program at their schools in the summertime and holiday time, a lot of times that free meal is the only meal that they would have had, and so they go hungry. and it's prevalent even in affluent parts of the country, right? And there can never be enough help with that.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's that prevalent, and so that's our niche that we try to do.
How do you reach them? Like, do you work with schools?
Through the schools, yes, through the schools. Yeah, partnerships with the schools, which again, that just
do you bring it to them to home or?
So however we can facilitate it. If we can get the information of who those folks are and do that, that's awesome. That's ideal. But if not, if we can support the schools so that they can do it, or partnering with like a food bank or a food drive type situation to broadcast, hey, come, this is where you need to come to get it. There's a few ways that you can do it.
Wow. I feel so bad. Like, I feel bad for kids in general because lunches, like in schools here, like I feel like the whole system, like how they feed, like when you look at the menu, like it's already, even if it's not like for, you can afford it, right?
Right,
like it's already like, pizza is not nutritious meal for a child.
Right.
You need like way more than just a pizza or a hot dog.
Yeah.
It's very sad.
Yep.
Like I came from different background of hot meals in schools.
Mm-hmm.
I freaking loved it.
Mm-hmm.
And we go towards like most convenient, most calories packed, and the cheapest way possible.
Yeah.
I think in jails, I talked to one guy who's been in jail. They spend like 46 cents per meal.
Oh, wow.
or something like per. It's just like fast, enough calories.
Mm-hmm.
It's good, right?
Yeah.
Like they're not gonna spend $10 per lunch for you.
Right.
But they're not gonna let you die.
Yeah.
What kind of meals you providing?
So I mean, a lot of it is because it's donated to from different places. So a lot of it is kind of what you would think, like canned goods, dry goods, non-perishables, because you don't know that situation in that home too. Like, can they cook? These are real questions that you don't really think about. But is their power on? Do they have appliances? Do they have a refrigerator? Can they keep it, right? And then trying to also partner with some cooperatives that have like community gardens to try to get some healthier, fresh produce, things like that. But it's kind of a lot like what you would expect from like a food drive, right?
Well, interesting. Like I did not expect this conversation, but it's taken me on memory lane myself because I love that space. Thank you for doing a good job with that because it's needed.
Yeah.
Right? Not many people are doing.
Well, and I tell you, so do you know what the Roofing Alliance is?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So the Roofing Alliance, so
Adam Benzman.
So, well, no, that's the Roofing and Solar Reform
Oh.
Alliance. So the Roofing Alliance is the NRCA's nonprofit foundation.
I see.
Right, and our core values there are technology, education, philanthropy, and sustainability.
I see.
And we do a real good job of doing those things. And that's what gets me out of bed, right? Because to your point, the roofing industry specifically has a bad reputation. Mm-hmm. It just does. And so we are trying to be one of the good guys, right? Be one of the good guys, give back, and make an impact. Education is another one that we're passionate about, right? So at this point, the Alliance has brought roofing into 10 universities as minors in their colleges of construction. That's huge.
It is big.
That's huge. Because who would have thought it? Like, kids nowadays already, they don't think about those things, right? There's already labor shortages, an aging workforce with nobody to replace them in the trades. So if we can drive awareness to say, hey, get into roofing, it's quite lucrative. You can make a great living and you can do something that is helping people. It's the literal roof over people's heads. Like, it's important,
100%. And without roofs, what people don't realize, we will be living in a third world country fast.
Yeah.
Because if your roof collapses, or if you cannot afford the roof, don't have money for it, like, as far as the economy goes, people need to make enough money and the roof should be affordable enough. Otherwise, our roof lasts 15, 18 years.
Yeah.
If you cannot afford it, now it's collapsing, now
Yeah.
it's leaking, now it's your house getting destroyed, value of the house goes down.
And
Like,
it's
what's next?
It's a health concern. too,
Yes.
right? Because then you got mold that grows. I mean, it can become really bad, really fast.
Let's talk a little bit more about your business.
Mhm.
Where does your next $10 million in revenue specifically comes from? What are you targeting? Commercial, residential, store work?
Love that question. Yeah. So we are residential heavy right now, just because that's just the kind of the progression, right? I have a passion, and I'm an expert at commercial, multifamily and low slope commercial. So that's where I'm spending the majority of my time focusing on, is trying to get some market share there. And then the other revenue arm is going to be from our licensing program, right? Because my branch, corporate HQ, if you want to call it, in Alpharetta, I might only want to increase that a few more million. Maybe I think 15 million will be kind of the top that I want that one location to do, because I've felt that is kind of the revenue that produces that's the strain, right? When you think about not being overwhelmed, the staff being able to run efficiently, things like that. So then I'm going to focus my time on building relationships with commercial clients, expanding our network with other licensed operators across the United States, and supporting them, helping them be successful, which then will help us be successful.
Love it. What's your current customer acquisition cost, and how has it changed in the 2 years? Do you see increase in customer acquisition cost?
So it ebbs and flows. For us, depending on the partners that we have, because we acquire leads in various channels, right? Pay-per lead models, traditional PPC and ads and things like that, and so that fluctuates. But we've gotten pretty good at staying right around 500.
That's good.
Like, despite kind of the line of support, if you will, around 500.
That's a good number. What percentage of your revenue comes from repeat referral versus paid marketing?
A lot, the majority.
Majority.
Yeah, so as far as ad spend in the traditional sense, I limit it. Just because I'm in a very competitive area. Like, Alpharetta, Georgia is like the highest median income area in the state of Georgia. And so if you Google roofer, when I Google roofer near me, it's just like pin. It's just a lot. So you've got a lot of competition driving that ad spend up. Mm-hmm. So referrals are everything to us. And that's why, again, I think reputation, credibility, and like joining associations, right? Like, all my guys, one of the requirements for them is, hey, you guys need to join some type of a networking group, whether it's BNI, whether it's a career-focused church group. It doesn't matter what it is. Just join one, get engaged, build relationships with folks, and you'll get referrals. It's the most valuable.
100%. What roles did you personally fire yourself from in the last year?
A lot. Oh, and it feels good. Yeah. So we've brought on I've got a fantastic business partner now, and a friend, and he's our integrator. So he's our COO. His name is Edward. And he has done a really, really good job of keeping me doing what I do best, which is driving relationships and talking high level, just doing things that a CEO or a visionary, right, EOS language, that a visionary should be doing. And he's great at systems, processes, taking my idea that I might thought was amazing and being like, maybe not now, right? Or taking an idea that he says, no, that's great, I can do something with that, and then takes it, breaks it down, and then delegates it out to the team and executes it. So I occasionally a hat will get thrown back my way, but I've been able to shed the majority of them.
I see. What would you say your biggest waste of money right now, but you can't just stop it? You see it's going to waste.
So this is a word of caution, because we mentioned earlier, what did I waste a lot of money on when I first started? And it was marketing. So anything that I thought could be good, I tried. Billboards, you name it, I tried it. And I also tried magazines, like those neighborhood, you know what I'm talking about.
Local, yeah.
And they lock you in for like 3 years. And I'm locked into like these 4 magazines that took, like, in totality, it's like $6,000 a month.
Wow.
It's produced no ORI.
Print is dead.
It's, in theory, it's great. They sold me on it. Great sales organization. But it's and I've tried and I can't get out of the contracts, and so I'm wasting money on that right now.
Can you name them?
Yeah, I mean, I don't see why not. So, lifestyle magazine, and I think it's a franchise. I don't know, but they've got them everywhere, and so I'm in several little city suburb deal. Yeah.
I have the same experience. We have one here, Dollar and Cents, paid like $9,000 or $10,000 a month. Tried it. 1 month, nothing. Another month, we have some. It's also some of your offers. It's a little bit seasonality, but overall.
I even talked to the publisher, and I said, hey, so I did some cost analysis. I'm trying to figure out where I can get some money that I can allocate toward my nonprofit. Right? That's what I want to do with this budget. Can we work something out? Maybe, I've already been with you for almost 2 years. Maybe we exit and we do a good, press release saying, that you're a contributor to the nonprofit we can figure out what it looks like, and just adamantly opposed to it. Like, nope, you're locked in. No, just borderline rude about it, honestly. But, so.
A lot of traditional marketing, I think, not only they know they're going away, like your Yellow Pages obviously is gone, your radio shows, like I've been on the same radio for like 8 years. Like I joined 8 years ago, ran it for 6 months, and rejoined this year for 1 year. It's all like contracts and stuff. Here's what I see in the old stuff. They are not developing. Like they could develop.
Sure.
Like if you run a radio station, you could build awesome studios and do podcasts
Yes.
out of it, right? If you run a print shop, you can do more
Yes.
for people to read. You can do so much, but they're like, we've done it 20 years ago, but now you're competing with a TikTok and Instagram.
Yeah,
and nobody gonna, if I have to pick up this or this, I'm picking this up.
For sure. Yeah. There's no innovation or outside of the box thinking, and
Exactly.
it's stale.
It's fair. But sorry to hear about 3-year contract. Why did you sign 3-year contract in the first place?
Man, I just started the business. I was like, woo, I own a business. Now I need to get a bunch of customers. And then people come, soliciting, hey, you should do this. I'm like, yeah, I should, and I did, and it was a mistake. But you live and you learn,
You know what's another one is, and let's help all our listeners. If you're watching this, if you wasted money on print, for other people not to waste money and help someone, please put down something you spent money on and it did not work out and it was a total waste. I'll name one, Blue Book. Blue Book.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
like, I have a friend who did like $2,000 a month. I'm like, Alex, why are you paying for it? He's like, it's a 12 months contract. I'm like, Alex, if you cancel it, there's nothing they can, like, you never get a business. It's a two-way street. Every contract is like, what did they promise you when you sign up? I'll get like 10, 15 leads and couple jobs every month. Did you get any leads? No. Cancel it.
But they get you because a lot of times they'll tell you these things, but then when you actually look at the legal document, it's completely one-sided. Like it's anyway.
Yeah, it's guys, comment away. How much did you spend on publication, whatever the waste of, and I promise you there's gonna be a lot of comments on this. All right, let's go. So if you look at your organizational chart today, where are you still the bottleneck?
For us, the bottleneck will always be, and and I don't even know if I would classify it as a bottleneck. I don't know what term I would use, but it's just the it's recruiting. It's that never-ending talent acquisition, right? Because sales guys, there's a little bit of a revolving door that we try to build a culture to where we're going to retain, and we do quite a bit, but there's always going to be right? And then especially you put that with a company that has good systems and processes and is building a good brand and is scaling quickly to be able to keep up with that demand becomes a bottleneck, right? And so we've actually recently partnered with Roofing Talent America. Whoa.
Hey, Mark.
Which is a talent acquisition firm that specializes in the roofing industry. And they're actually members of the Roofing Alliance. And so I know that they'll at least they'll at least do their best to make sure they deliver. So we're excited about that. We literally just signed with them this week, or like Monday. But I think for me, trying to make things easy is what I want to do, right? Whether it's for my staff, whether it's for my partners, my business partners, in whatever side of the business it is, right? And even like the technology space, right? So I know everybody and their brother is coming out with ever since vibe coding came out, man, everybody's coming out with a CRM or a this or
AI tool.
Yeah, But we've been working on something for a while that's in beta right now, and it should go V1 in June. And it's called Builder Link. So Builder LYNC, and it's a CRM, and it does a lot of these things that we've talked about today. And it streamlines them. It does incorporate AI, not in a hype way, but in a real actionable way. And it allows people to go to one place, one source of truth, so to speak, right? One login, no need to use 5 different softwares anymore, right? And in the spirit of having an abundance mindset, right? It's the operating system that Capital City Roofing runs on, but it's going to be available to anybody because I want everybody to have the tools that they need to be successful, right? So we're really excited about that too.
What would break first if you double your business tomorrow?
Probably my back, because I would. My nature is trying to fill in the gaps immediately. So I'd be back on climbing on roofs and all kind of stuff. But no, I mean it would put a lot of strain on every part of the business operationally, right? And this is why the people aspect is so important, right? Because you're only as good as your people. And I'm 100% confident that my people can persevere and manage through that stress until we're able to supplement it with additional resources. And I think for every business, that is what's most critical, right? Don't get complacent. Don't say, oh, we're good enough, right? Really, and when you've got the downtime is the best time to do it. Analyze your people. Say, hey, look, do they get it? Do they want it? Do they have the capacity to do it? Do they fit my core values? If the answer is yes, then that person is fantastic and they need to stay. If it's questionable, you might want to start looking for a contingency plan, right?
Love it. Last 10 questions about industry trends and little controversy with our industry. Is AI actually helping contractors or making bad marketers faster?
Both. So it depends on who's using it. So contrary to popular belief, if you're using AI the right way, you're not lazy. You can't be lazy and use AI and think that it's going to make up for your laziness. It's just not. But if you spend the time, it's just like with anything that's worth doing, right? I used to, way back in the day, I owned a painting company. And the prep work is the most important thing.
Isn't it on everything?
Right? Anything that's worth doing. The more work that you can put on the front end, the better the product's going to be. Same thing with AI, right? The more work that you put on the front end with giving it a clear goal, clear instructions, how you want to do it, what you want, just leaving out the guesswork. Because AI is great, but it's not a mind reader, right? Until we get the chips or whatever, right? So, and if you do that, then it can do almost anything you need it to do, right? But if you're lazy and you're just like, oh, write me a Facebook ad, And it's like, yeah, well, about what? To who? What customer? What offer? You know what I mean? Big differentiator. So the answer is both, depending on who's. It's always the operator of the tool, not the tool, in my opinion.
100%. Are most roofing companies overpriced, underpriced, or just poorly run? In your market, do you see the problem with the companies who not charging enough and you have to compete with them?
Yeah.
Or do you see?
There's definitely a race to the bottom, 100%. But then on the flip side of that, you've got, these companies who are charging over $1,000 a square for a 30-year architectural shingle system, which is absurd, right? And so you've got both. And so for us,
But I'm not pushing back. I'm challenging you in both.
mm-hmm.
How do you compete with a race to the bottom contractor
Mm-hmm.
without talking negative about your competition? And also, how do you compete with a contractor who will praise the capitalism that everybody is entitled to their price?
Right.
You don't get to tell me how much to charge. If I want to charge $1,000,
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
so how do we? I guess my question is, how do we structure our message in the marketplace
Yeah.
for us being reasonably priced
Right.
without being negative about competition?
So the rebuttal to the race to the bottom type contractor, it's, hey, you do get what you pay for. You do. And we do a very good job of educating the homeowner or the property manager, whoever it is, of the system that we're installing, the value that it has, the warranties that we provide, and why that justifies the price that we're pitching them. And most of them, they will understand that. And the ones that don't understand that, that's okay, because not every customer is a good customer, right? You need to figure out, I'm talking to business owners, you need to figure out what is your ideal customer profile and go after that customer, because that customer your pitch will resonate with that customer, right? And then for the wildly priced folks, we're just transparent about our pricing. Sometimes to the point, I'll literally spin my laptop around. I'll be like, hey, this is my estimating software. You can see right here, I've got a gross profit of 45%. My company overhead's about 15, right? And so would you say that's a reasonable net profit after that a growing company should want to have? Most of the time they'll say, yeah, I think so. That's probably what a business should do. I would say, great, I'm a business. That's what we're doing, right? And so it's fair. It's transparent. And there's no sense in my opinion, there's no sense in making more off of someone that isn't reasonable, And I understand people's businesses' overheads increases and things like that, but I don't think they increase to the point where you need a 75% gross profit.
Is that what you see? Do you see companies are charging? Because in my experience, companies who charge the most, they also spend the most on marketing. They're just like, I know companies who charge spend 20-25% on marketing. So
Mm-hmm.
if you sell the job at 100,000, your customer acquisition cost is almost $20,000. It's
Yeah.
insane.
Yeah.
And you have to charge more essentially, but then only to pretty much dominate the market with your ad spend.
Right. Yeah. No, that's definitely happening for sure. And that's one of the catalysts from the inflated prices for sure. But in my opinion, because I can talk about target marketing costs all day because I did it wrong at first, as I mentioned previously. But I have found that 5% is good. If you're doing it right and you're tracking it well and you're reacting quick if something's not working, right? 5% is good. And then if you want to grow, and if you want to grow quickly, 10% tops, right? 10% you should be able to grow quickly, if you're doing it right. If you want to maintain, grow a little bit, 5% all day long, right? So somewhere between 5 and 10, in my opinion, is where a company should land. And that's not roofing specific. I think that would translate to most for-profit companies, honestly.
Solid points. Why do so many companies stall at $3 to $5 million?
Because of founder or owner capacity ceiling. It's the ceiling of their capacity. And I know that from firsthand experience, because so like the first little under year in business, I did $3 million, and I sold the vast majority of that myself. And I was at my capacity. That was 7 days a week. That was 16 hours a day. That was working on Christmas Day and Thanksgiving. I installed, believe it or not, I can give you the customer to reach out to. I installed a roof on Thanksgiving and a roof on Christmas. Luckily, I found a Scrooge that was like, yeah, you can do it on Christmas. I ain't got nothing else going on. Like, cool. So we did. But anyway, my point is, there was no way that I could do more. It wasn't physically, emotionally, mentally possible, right? And small business owners don't know how to get out of that cycle, right? They don't know how to recruit. They don't know how to teach, coach, and train. They don't know how to develop processes that are repeatable. They just don't know. And you don't know what you don't know. And that's not a dig at anybody. It's a different skill set, right? But learning that skill set is super important.
Agree. What's the biggest lie that contractors tell homeowners? In our industry, is it a warranty? Is it something about expectations?
Is
it conditions of their roofs that needs to be replaced?
Definitely that. Definitely that.
So we do replace a lot of roofs.
Definitely that. Especially in Georgia. In Georgia, we've got entire companies that have built their entire business model on insurance roofing, and we're not a storm market. Like, we get hail like this. Like, we are not a storm market, and these homeowners think they need to replace the roof. So that's definitely one. And then the other one is warranties. That's funny. It's a good marketing. It's good. It's good for marketing. I'll just leave it at that. It's great at marketing.
Do you see a big problem with vandalism in your market, Atlanta?
So I haven't witnessed it firsthand necessarily, but I know it happens. We all know it happens, right? And it's unfortunate, because that's where the bad reputation comes from. That's the reason why carriers are pushing back so hard and dropping people's coverage and increasing their premiums, increasing their deductibles, is because of that. It's not just because they're like these evil people. They're a for-profit business too, and you have these folks manufacturing damages and driving up their costs, and they have to respond some way, and that's how they're responding, and it is an issue, and I hope that it'll never completely stop. I doubt, but I hope that it gets better for sure.
I know you're big on franchising. Do you think franchising is the future? Because I have not seen good franchising in this space.
So not franchising, definitely not franchising.
Licensing.
So, and I'll explain the difference. So, with a franchise, essentially, at least in home services, right? Because if it's brick and mortar, it does make more sense, right? If I wanted to start a hamburger shop, I'd go buy a McDonald's, and I got a McDonald's. There's brand equity there, right? Mm-hmm. Home services, not so much. So essentially what you're getting is you're getting a logo with no real inherent brand equity. And then you may get some generic processes and SOPs, maybe, right? But you don't really get anything like really. With us, you get the things that are stereotypical to a franchise, but we have shared services, right? So depending on where you're at in the stage of your business development is different packages of shared services that we can offer you. And we centralize that. We're going to centralize those tasks. I'll just talk about the third tier. We answer the phones. We schedule your appointments. We book the calendars. We perform CRM hygiene. So we put the notes in. We clean it up. We make sure that the process stages are correct, right? We order the material, we dispatch, we send the work order to the crew. And then the only thing we don't do is actually sell the roof and project manage the install. But afterwards, we file the warranty, we do the bookkeeping, we do the accounting.
That's a lot of work.
We do the compliance, right? Because we have developed a vertically integrated ecosystem. So a lot of those functions, we have companies that we also own, like we own an accounting firm, right? We help the public, we do accounting. But now it's a value add to our licensees, right? And so we, at our cost, can provide that service that if they were to otherwise outsource these to a third party, or God forbid, hire a W-2 employee to do all these functions, it would be well over the subscription price that we charge, right? And then in the standard license or franchising model, our royalty is only 5%, as opposed to like an average of like 10 probably, right? And then our buy-in is only 15 grand, opposed to like 50.
That's very competitive.
Very competitive. It's going to change the game. Capital City Roofing will be the first household name in roofing.
Well, we have few household names already.
Real household names for a good reason.
All right. Bold claims, but I think if you can execute on that promise, if the number, because I'm all about numbers, and I've seen some franchises where it charge too much, like they'll charge like $200,000 buy-in fee, 7% marketing fee. I'm like, you could do it on your own. Like, why do you need them? If you spend 7%, like,
right,
you can build a brand for less than $200,000.
Yeah.
Spend 20 on it, you'll have a brand.
Yeah. A prime example. So this business model, our ideal client profile for the licensing model is the sales rep who has sold, $2, $3, $4 million, and now all of a sudden thinks that they can go run a business. And then they do, and they realize, holy smokes.
Most salespeople have no business of running a business.
Right? So instead of that person doing that and failing, now they can partner with us. They can still own a business, and they can keep doing what it is that they're passionate about, that they love to do.
What's the end goal for someone who would buy in licensing? Because can you sell it later? Like,
So we have that. So we have a strategy in place. Right. So
what's the exit strategy?
Yep. So good question. So a prime example of that is our newest licensee. He's actually my partner, one of my partners in BuilderLink. His name is Blake Grissom. He's a double Golden Door winner. He knocked doors and sold something like $7 million in a year. Like he's fantastic, right? And he started a roofing company, Revive Roofing and Exteriors, in Charleston, South Carolina. So now Blake is going to be able to do what he's great at, which is business development, training guys in the field, generating revenue, closing deals, talking to adjusters, the things that he's an expert at, and we're going to handle the back office for him. And so now he's Revive Roofing and Exteriors, powered by Capital City Roofing, which is the same similar structure as a lot of these PE platforms, right? So inevitably, 3, 4, 5 years from now, PE is going to say, hey, you've pretty much already have structured this the way that we would. Let's talk about what an exit will look like, and let's negotiate that. And I'll be able to negotiate it for everybody. And they'll be able to exit individually and be given an opportunity that alone maybe they wouldn't have ever got to.
Interesting. I love the model. Would you say that leads are getting worse or contractors are getting lazier? Because a lot of contractors complain about leads, lead quality, and which one is it?
Man, a lot of these questions, it's both. It just is, because you've got lead aggregators, marketing agencies. There's a lot of bad actors in that space. I think we all know it. But there are some good ones, and there are lazy contractors. And sometimes maybe it's not they're lazy, but maybe they don't know how to do it, or maybe they don't have the capacity to do it, right? To be able to follow up with a customer in a very structured way at a specific cadence and put them on a nurture that lasts a significant period of time to try to convert that customer, it takes some know-how, right? So maybe they just don't know how, or maybe they don't have the capacity to do it, right? So it could be lazy, but a lot of times it could be like, hey man, I would do it if I knew how to do it. I just don't know how to do it.
What's one thing you would ban from the roofing industry tomorrow?
Not having to have a specialty contractor's license. So Georgia and several other states, it's the wild, wild west. I mean, you don't have to have a license to be a roofer.
But you have to have a license to be a builder or contractor.
To be a builder, yes.
In Atlanta, it's hard to get, right? Like, because you have to have money in account. Or
So there's different tiers, right? There's a residential builder, which is fairly easy. The residential builder is fairly easy, and then there's a residential builder with a commercial up to, I forget the square footage, but you could build essentially a small commercial structure, and then there's a commercial general contractor, like a real GC, and then there's an unlimited, right? And then so the regular GC, the commercial GC, is up to $1 million, your project cost. And then the unlimited, obviously, is you can build a skyscraper if you wanted to. So there's 4 tiers in Georgia for builders, but there's not one for a specialty contractor for roofing.
Mm-hmm. I got it. Last question. With all technology and everything, do you think will roofing become tech-driven, or will operators always win?
So what you'll see is a good roofing organization is going to become a marketing and technology company that happens to offer the product and service of roofing, right? That's just, I believe, a fact. And quite frankly, I believe that the titans in the industry are already doing that. Now, you will always need a skilled operator. People aren't going away. They're not. You'll see great leaders shift their focus to learning, adopting, and becoming very, very proficient in using AI to supplement everything that they do, and then essentially they'll have superpowers, right? And those people will be able to. So you can take a leadership team of say 5 to 7, and then a leadership team of 3 will be able to execute at the same level.
Good answer. Give one advice to someone who just getting started and kind of between the roads, like franchise model, work for someone else, start a company, move to another city. How do you pick a city? How do you pick a business model? Like, just quick, if I come to you, it's like, man, I can live anywhere in the United States, give me some time, I want to start a roofing company. What would you say?
So I think the first thing is to take a step back and ask yourself, are you passionate about it? Because if you're not passionate about it, it's a grind. You know, if it's not what you want to do, don't do it, right? Find something else. And as far as starting your own business, then you have to be honest with yourself. Like, can you do it? You know, like, is it in you? Because not everybody's built for it. It will test everything. You will experience every emotion every single day, every single one. And you've got to be able to have like the emotional maturity to persevere through that, right? So that's the first thing. And then the next part isn't as critical in my opinion, because if you're talented, honest, hardworking, and relatively intelligent, you don't even have to be the smartest. You'll be successful in whatever you do, right? Even if it's on a smaller scale, you'll be successful if you have those intangibles and you're passionate about it.
Love it. Great tips. Guys, comment below what you think about the episode, and I'll see you in the next video.